Peace, everybody. Welcome back to the Return of the Moors open discussion. Today we're going to talk about mortgages, conversion, allodial title, the Intercaterra Divina. I'm going to talk about how Fidel Castro nationalized Cuba, and we're pretty much going to talk about those principles and how we can, because Moors talk about nationalize, so we're going to use the Cuba situation as an example of what can happen when Americans nationalize. So, the reason why I say Americans is because Cubans are Americans. Now we can go into the Holy Quran, Circle 7 real quick, that Udra Ali prepared for us, and we can kind of see who the Americans are. And we'll just get into that right now. This is chapter 45, the divine origin of the Asiatic nations. The fallen sons and daughters of the Asiatic nation of North America need to learn to love instead of hate, and to know their higher self and lower self. This is the uniting of the Holy Quran of Mecca for teaching and instructing all Moorish Americans, etc. The key of civilization was and is in the hands of the Asiatic nations, the Moors, who were ancient Moabites and the founders of the holy city of Mecca, the Egyptians, who were the Hammatites, and of direct descendant of Mizraim, the Arabians, the seed of Hagar, Japanese and Chinese, the Hindus of India, the descendants of the ancient Canaanites, Hittites, and Moabites of the land of Canaan, the Asiatic nations of North, South, and Central America, the Moorish Americans and Mexicans of North America, Mexicans are Americans, Brazilians, Argentinians, and Chileans in South America, Colombians, Nicaraguans, and the natives of San Salvador in Central America, etc. All of these are Muslims. All of them. The Turks are the true descendants of Hagar, who are the chief protectors of the Islamic creed of Mecca, beginning from Muhammad I, the founding of the uniting of Islam by the command of the great universal God Allah. Now, in that book right there, American Dictionary on the English Language, Noah Webster's 1828, if you look up the definition of American, it'll say one of the various copper-toned natives found in America. Now, if you look at the Cubans, what do they look like? Copper-toned. So they're Americans. Because remember, America is 2 continents and islands, North, South America, Central America, etc. So all of these people are Americans, right? Now, with the Intercaterra Divina of 1493, which happened after the fall of the Red House, which is, our emirate in Al-Andalus, their mission was to convert all of the Moorish estates into European colonial inquisitioner administration. From the birth certificate, the Cestui Trust in 1580, and then refined in 1666, even into, them overthrowing our lands in 1861, Act of Congress, 1871. So, when we say nationalize, here's kind of what we're saying, right? Because a mortgage, Indian title, all of those things which people think are ownership of land is actually not. Now here's where you come in, right? So remember, Intercaterra Divina, their whole plan was to come here, conquer us, force Christianity on us, take our land, boom, 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 boom. So here's what conversion is. So this is from Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition. And I'm going to have you read what conversion is, please. So keep in mind, keep this in context when I'm talking about what Castro did when he nationalized Cuba. And you'll, based on what I read to you, you'll see exactly kind of what was going on. See what I'm saying? So this is exactly the Intercaterra Divina of 1493 and their acts of conversion. Now we do know what conversion is.
Conversion. The transportation of a subject and predicate in a proportion as everything is good in its place. Conversion, nothing is good which is not in its place.
Conversion.
Oh, converse, sorry.
Yeah, you were in the wrong one.
Equity, the exchange of property from real to personal or from personal to real, which takes place under some circumstances in the consideration of the law, such as to give effect to directions in a will or settlement, or to stipulations in a contract, although not such change has actually taken place.
So it's the appearance that a change took place, but it actually didn't. So it appears that ownership of the land was transferred to these Europeans when it actually was not. You see what I'm saying? Because, hereditament, which is, what you inherit from your mother, inheritance, right? Your inheritance and your hereditaments are unalienable. They're your birthrights. So again, people are part and parcel. So you can't transfer land over to a foreigner. You see what I'm saying? A birthright cannot be transferred. You see, so it's the appearance that land was given to the Europeans and now they control it. So now when you nationalize, you know your home, you know your part and parcel, you know your birthrights are unalienable, meaning a lien can't be placed on it, meaning a debt can't be placed on it, which a mortgage is a debt. Now let's go into what a mortgage is, right? We'll just read the definition. Right? Black's Law Dictionary again, 4th edition.
Is it a debt by specialty secured by a pledge of loans of which the legal ownership is vested in the creditor, but of which in equity the debtor and those claiming under him remain the actual owners until debarred by judicial sentence or their own laches.
Now, we would have to go into the definition of owner, because even in the definition of owner, it says it does not mean actual ownership. You see what I'm saying? It's kind of like a play on words. So can you kind of break down like how you had to break down what that was actually saying?
Yes. So I took the definition of mortgage, and every word that I couldn't say I fully understood, I had to look it up in the Oxford Dictionary or etymology, and define those words.
Yeah.
And then I rewrote it from what I looked up in my own understanding.
So you can have a better comprehension of what it was saying. Yeah.
So this is the lengths that I had to go through to understand the word fully.
So you used etymology to break down what it actually meant.
Yes.
Because etymology is the denotative, truthful definition, true meaning of what all words are.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? So now, she said a debt by specialty, etc. But it continues to say, the foregoing definitions are applicable to the common law conception of a mortgage. But in many states in modern times, it is regarded as a mere lien, and not as creating a title or estate. So the only way to own your estate is to have the allodial title. The only way to have the allodial title is to be an heir. You see what I'm saying? Or the grantor. Now you can't be the grantor of an estate that's not yours. Land is, and family wealth is passed down, through hereditaments, from mother to child. You see what I'm saying? So they're Europeans. They're not of our blood at all. So how can they ever claim any ownership of any land here?
They're reselling us our own lands and assets.
Exactly. Through the mortgages, through a debt that doesn't exist because it's already ours. Part and parcel means you're part of the land. That's why your feet never get off the floor.
They set up a lemonade table under our lemon tree and sold us our own lemons.
They're selling us our birthright back to us.
Yes.
So it's kind of like, this expo is mine, right? But then you come in, you convert it, and you say, nah, Jamal, you got to pay me for this. And I'm just, since I'm an incompetent heir because I think I'm black, Negro, colored, I think I'm from somewhere else, I'm not claiming my land, I'm not nationalizing. I'm like, okay, that's just how it is. Everyone's doing it. Everyone's getting a mortgage. Everyone has an Indian title. When the truth is, they're converting our estate, and it has nothing to do with them at all. They don't own anything. That's why so much effort is put into, you see like billboards, refinance a mortgage, you got mortgage commercials. It's a debt.
Yeah.
That you put on your estate because you think you need to. Because you're not taught common law principles. Because remember, 1902, General Education Board is to keep us dumb, right? All right. So now that we know what conversion is, Now that we know what a mortgage is, let me just write these things down.
You want me to pause while you do this?
No, it's fine. Right. So conversion is the appearance that a transfer of ownership took place when it actually didn't. Mortgage is a debt. So they make it seem like they have title to our stuff, and then they put a debt on us so that we have access to our stuff. That's pretty much what's happening. All right. So now, when the people realize that their hereditaments, that their heir, their hereditaments, corporal and incorporal, are unalienable, which that's a lien, and they claim they recognize their self first. You can't, because a lot of people say, if you claim to be a Moor, will you be recognized from whoever? Mm-hmm. I'm like, if you're a man, why do you need to be recognized from someone else? Mm-hmm. How about you recognize yourself first? Because people claim, we're God. Yeah. Well, if you're God, why can't God recognize God's self?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's kind of like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. God doesn't need the consent of men to know that he's God.
Exactly. So, when you recognize yourself, you don't need anyone outside of self to recognize you for you. Mm-hmm. So when our people finally do that, this is what the possibilities are. Because we know the system's messed up. Mm-hmm. We know that. We know our people are always falsely imprisoned for crimes that we didn't commit. We know that. There's actually a Netflix series about that. Mm-hmm. Right? We know black, colored, Indian. We know that's a colored status. We know that means you're a 14th Amendment citizen. You're Christian property. You're United States property. Your property. That's why you have no rights. We know that. You can't debate that. That it's literally written, right? Mm-hmm. We know that when you nationalize, you have the right to your estate back. We know that. Why aren't we doing that? So we know there's something wrong. Mm-hmm. Moors are showing you this is how you fix it. Why haven't we fixed it yet?
We're afraid of the fight.
Now, true, in part. That's part of the, what we were talking about earlier, the Willie Lynch manual, mm-hmm. when they make our men into non-men.
Yes.
And then, those who stand up, they publicly try to shame them and, take their stuff, beat them up, and that puts fear into other men's hearts and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And then the women are like, I don't want my son to go through that, so the women baby the men so that they grow up dependent on the woman, like you were saying. Yeah. And then in Willie Lynch manual, they talk about reversing the role of the male and female, and that's exactly what's going on. Mm-hmm. So we're also fighting Willie Lynch. So we're also fighting ourselves and European occupation, which is terrorism and genocide, which we keep calling racism. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like all we have to do is put things in its proper context. Like, it's not racism, it's genocide and terrorism, and then based on, we can see other nation states doing it. Cuba, mm-hmm. they were fighting against European colonial occupation. Mm-hmm. The Europeans were colonizing Cuba. So what did they do? They nationalized. So try to get back on topic because I know we kind of went off. Let's go into what happened in Cuba, right? And this is in my book. The Castro government nationalized all foreign-owned property. Remember, hereditaments are unalienable. They can't be transferred. So that's conversion right there, off rip. That's mm-hmm. what it's saying. That's why I put in parentheses, right? Particularly holdings of the United States Corporation Company in the nation on August 6, 1960. In 1961, the Cuban government nationalized all property held by religious organizations, including the dominant Roman Catholic Church. Right, in the Inter Divina, weren't they talking about forcing Christianity on us? Hmm. And then Roger Williams, he created the first Baptist church here, 1638. Mm-hmm. It's happening. It's not just here. It's happening everywhere. Yeah. See, and this is an example of people revolting, right? So boom, that's what's going on, right? Doing so ended the doctrine of discovery, Inquisition, democracy operations of conversion of the Cuban estates. Making an adverse claim, the Cubans gained back their estate by reversion. So it's kind of like conversion, right? They're mm-hmm. saying that they own. They're saying this is U.S. property. Mm-hmm. That's conversion because the Cubans never authorized that. Yeah. So what they're doing is they're making an adverse claim, saying, "You're Europeans, we're home. What are you talking about? You own our stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So Moors, right? We're not black. We're not Indian. Europeans, what are you talking about? You own our stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The so-called black people, reparations, repair a nation. What nation do you belong to?
Mm-hmm.
Moorish American, that's your nationality. That's your nation.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, here's the remedy. But are people like, I don't like that Moorish stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to do something now.
Yeah.
Once you say you're a Moor, you recognize your bloodline, you have to do something now.
Mm-hmm.
Blacks, they can just complain, march, feel good, and then, they feel good, and then that's it.
Yeah, because they're waiting for somebody else to fix it.
Because they're waiting for that magical fairy Jesus, who their European Christian masters told them is going to come for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then their Negro marching leaders, who are really dirty Moors, who know what's up, won't tell them what's up, because they're getting the paper from the European Colonial Occupiers, who are converting their estates as well.
Mm-hmm.
But they want to have a little bit of power over us, so that they live a comfortable life. So this is what real men do, right? Hundreds of Batista-era agents, policemen, and soldiers were put on public trial, accused of human rights abuses, war crimes, murder, torture, genocide, and terrorism. They didn't say racism. They said exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Human rights violation. Every time these Europeans beat us up in the street, choke us out, stomp on us, that's human rights violation.
Yeah.
But human rights only apply to humans.
Mm-hmm.
Humans have nationalities.
Yeah.
If you don't have a nationality, you're not a human.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Right? Murder, war crimes, genocide, and terrorism. The Cubans held them accountable for that. We keep waiting for the Europeans to hold their own people accountable for stuff that works in their benefit. That doesn't make sense. The Cubans stood up.
We can't even get the terms right to even start that.
Exactly. We keep arguing false arguments. You see what I'm saying? But the Cubans had it right. Now remember, Noble Drew Ali went to the convention in Cuba when he was on the scene, and he got mandate for greater Amexem, meaning he was restoring our state back to us.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden this happened. You see, like this affects the world. Our position here affects everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone else is fighting back except for us, because we want to be rappers, drug dealers, twerk team Thursdays,
basketball players, football players,
and we don't want to take our places amongst the affairs of men. Because once you claim who you are, you have to do something about your colonial occupiers. You can't just say this sucks anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That takes a man. But Willie Lynch doesn't produce men.
No.
Produces cowards. Right? All right. So the Cubans held these criminals accountable for their actions. They didn't say, hey, criminals, can you hold your criminal friends accountable for your criminal actions?
Yeah.
If I'm the mob boss and you own your beauty shop and my boy's an enforcer, you're not going to ask my enforcer to respect you.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to tell my enforcer to tell me to respect you. He's my enforcer. Mm-hmm. These so-called governors aren't going to tell their inquisition or crusaders, who are the police, to respect you. Because based on them robbing us...
That's what they sent them out there to do.
All right. And we can go into the police a little after this, right? About 200 of the accused people were convicted of political crimes by the newly elected Juror Society, chosen by the people, and then executed by firing squad. Others received long sentences of imprisonment. So they took charge of their shit. You've been violating us for years. The people voted that you deserve to die. It's up to the people. The will of Allah. You see what I'm saying? Castro's Republic introduced a range of progressive social reforms. Laws were introduced to counter the previously existing Roman canon law, the color of law, the democracy, the mobocracy, right? Which provided equality for Cubans and restored the matriarchal principles of the rights of women, while also improving communications, medical facilities, health, housing, and education. Don't our people complain about how the educational system sucks?
Yes.
Why don't we do anything about it? We're going to them, so we're going to our oppressor and saying, stop oppressing us. And then we go and then do nothing about it. Why don't we do this? That's why Noble Drew Ali said, in order to change a people, you must change their literature. They refine their education for their people.
Yep.
Right. This is what real men do, real men and women. By the end of the 1960s, all Cuban children were receiving some education compared to less than half before 1959 during the European occupation and administration of Cuba. Unemployment and corruption were reduced, and improvements were made in hygiene and sanitation. Now, wasn't there like in Flint, right? Wasn't there water all messed up?
Yeah.
And we keep expecting our oppressors to do something about it. Like, this is our land. They benefit off us being oppressed. Why do you think they're going to stop the oppression when they benefit from it? The Cubans weren't saying, hey, please give us fresh water. They got fresh water. The Cubans were saying, hey, can you hold your people accountable? They held them accountable. That's nationalizing. And it doesn't have to be violent. I mean, something's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because,
it's as violent as they make it.
Exactly. But that's why, in the Quran, chapter 3, unity of life, all things are connected. All living things are connected to every other living thing. So it's kind of like the harm I do to you, I do it to everyone else and myself. But the position that we're in right now is kind of like nature's not giving us any more chances anymore. That's why there's a lot of destruction going on. Because we're not innocent, but we keep pointing over there, but we're not doing anything about it. So we're hypocrites. So it's kind of like we have to...
You have to start with yourself in your own household.
Exactly. Right. Boom. 75% of Cuba's best and fertile lands were being claimed by foreign individuals or foreign companies at the time leading up to the revolution, mostly owned by the United States Corporation Company via their feudal acts of conversion. One of the first policies formed by the Cuban government was eliminating illiteracy and implementing reversionary land reforms to revert the estate back to the people. Republic. Remember, Secret Treaty of Verona, they were to overthrow all Republican forms of government. Remember, Noble Drew said, enforce our free national constitution. Article 4, Section 4 says, each state is guaranteed a republic. This whole continent, North, South, Central, Islands, all republics. They're only democracies because the Europeans have conquered us. The only way to get out of that is to nationalize. Cuba.
And first we have to get out of denial and accept the fact that we've been conquered.
Exactly. Accept that we've been played by our own. Accept that we've been hypocrites. Accept that we have to sacrifice something in order to save our prosperity. There's no way we can't do that.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So we have to be selfless, which is really not being selfless. Because remember, unity of life, chapter 3, hold the Quran. Everything is connected. I'm connected to my prosperity, they're not even here yet. But I'm implementing something to correct this. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is what we should all, hopefully. You see what I'm saying? We should all be trying to better ourselves every day. This is part of it. Your education, your literacy.
Yep.
You see what I'm
And
saying?
education doesn't necessarily mean in the schools, at home, doesn't mean college.
Exactly.
On
Well,
your
we already know 1902 the schools aren't going to teach us anything.
Which is why I'm saying education doesn't mean
Yeah, exactly.
us,
Yeah.
what
But-
they have us believe is a traditional education.
And this is
education is at home.
Yeah, and this is why Noble Drew said every temple must have a school. Because it's kind of like to help, with the parents who are also learning about their nationality and birthright, help assist the children as well. And he said, there's enough work for all of us to do. Like you're helping teach your friend's son, right?
Yep.
Imagine if you were getting paid for that, you were teaching a bunch of people. Just like there's enough work for everyone to do. Like no one's gonna be. There's no such thing as unemployment. Find your life's work and do it.
And that makes me think of Willie Lynch going to the women to educate the children on the system. Women need to be involved and stop looking at men like they're trying to out here freedom fight and get into trouble. Women need to have some knowledge and get involved so that we can educate the children.
This is why Drew Ali has woman and humanity written on her womb, and he's uplifting her. Because you are our everything. You are our God. Now, and you're talking about education, the first schoolroom is the womb. Because remember, Willie Lynch, they know the condition of the child reflects the condition of the mother.
Mhm.
This is also talked about in the Quran when they're talking about the education of Yeshua, who they call Jesus, and John the Baptist. So we'll go into that since we're talking about it, because it's very related, right? So this is chapter 2, the education of Mary and Elizabeth and so on. I'm just going to skip some, right? So it says, Elu said, this is clause 7, or number 7. Elu said, "It is not strange, there are no happenings. Law governs all events. From olden times it was ordained that you would be with us, and in this sacred school be taught." Elu and Salome took Mary and Elizabeth out to the sacred grove nearby where they were to be taught. Elu said to Mary and Elizabeth, "You may esteem yourself thrice blessed, for you are chosen mothers of long-promised sons, who are ordained to lay a solid rock, a sure foundation stone, on which the temple of perfect man shall rest, a temple that shall never be destroyed. We measure time by cycle ages, and the gate of every age we deem a milestone into the journey of the race. An age has passed, the gate unto another age flies open at the touch of time. This is the preparation age of soul, the kingdom of Emmanuel, of Allah and man. And these, your sons, will be the first to tell the news and teach the gospel of good will to men, and peace on earth. A mighty work is theirs, for carnal men want not the light, they love the dark, and when the light shines in the dark, they comprehend it not. We call these sons revealers of the light. But they must have the light, before they can reveal the light. And you must teach your sons, and set their souls on fire with love and holy zeal, and make them conscious of their missions to the sons of men. Teach them that Allah and man are one, but through carnal thoughts and words and deeds, man tore himself away from Allah, debased himself." I'm just going to stop there. Because the first schoolroom is the womb. But we only know what our mother teaches us, and she only knows what she knows.
Mhm.
So, 1902, General Education Board, Willie Lynch, they know the science of the womb, they know the science of the mind, that's why they implement these plans. It's kind of like, you can't really, this is the truth whether you want to accept it or not.
Mhm.
And then it says, carnal men, they don't want the light. Because that means you have to do something now.
Mhm.
That's why our people like to be black and Indian and Negro, because they don't want to do anything.
Mhm.
Which is why we got into position in the first place and why we're still in a position. We keep, honoring our carnal lower self. That's why Drew Ali also said he wants us to know about our higher self and our lower self. You see, like, it's all like, once you start to see, you can't unsee.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Very true.
So this is kind of like an example of the Cubans knowing all of this
Mhm.
in a nutshell, and then they did something about it.
Mhm.
Then they said, "Oh, we're Cubans,"
Yep.
and then they fixed the problem. And no one wants death, no one wants anarchy, no one wants destruction. But there's already death, there's already anarchy, and there's already destruction.
Yeah.
But people don't want to sacrifice anything.
Well, it might as well be for the right
Greater good.
cause. Yeah.
But in order to have the light, you have to have the light. In order to reveal it, you have to have it.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? This is why, again, more science of America, because the schools are so important. Because this all we're talking about right now, there's a war going on right out these doors.
Mhm.
It doesn't look like it. That's why it's called a silent weapon for silent wars.
Mhm.
This is a silent weapon.
Mhm.
All right, so back to Cuba, right? And it was great that you brought up women at that time, because Drelly was on it.
Mhm.
Uplift fallen humanity. Then he has woman in his arms,
Mhm.
and then he's standing on that solid rock of foundation, salvation and the cares of the world. That's the carnal stuff.
Mhm.
We want to be twerking, drinking, and smoking when there's real issues going on.
Yeah.
And then people try to deny he's a prophet. Like, what? Prophet's just a thought of Allah.
Mhm.
And we're all Allah. So it's like,
Yeah.
because we think prophet is a fairy, Jesus coming from the sky, and the
Yeah.
sky opens, and then we
I'm
go
gonna
up this
predict
golden
this.
escalator.
Yeah. Predicting the future.
Yeah, it's just warning us.
Mhm.